Live from Johannesburg, this is Tonight with Jane Dutton. Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe tells us if he can revive our dying mining industry. How do we keep our children safe in public places? President Cyril Ramaphosa's new recovery plan is in place. But is it enough to help one of Soweto's oldest industrial parks? That's Tonight with Jane Dutton. The new mining charter has been approved. This is the beginning of Gwede Mantashe's 8th month as Mineral Resources Minister. He has visited troubled communities and had meetings with stakeholders. So is he on track to help our ailing mining industry? That's my question for my guest for tonight. What's yours? You can call in on 011 759 6340, 011 759 6340. You can also hashtag Tonight with Jane Dutton. But first, here's Kathy with the news.
Hi, partner.
Hello,
it's great to join you today, even though it's on a completely different platform. I'm Kathy Mutlasha, and I've got just a brief of your headlines. Fuel prices are now the highest they've ever been in South Africa. From midnight tomorrow, inland provinces motorists will be paying 17 rand 8 cents for 1 litre of 95 octane petrol. Here's a look at those adjustments, which are largely due to the weakening rand-dollar exchange rate and the rising international oil price. 93 and 95 grades of petrol will increase by 99 cents and a litre respectively. As you've heard there, diesel will rise by 124 cents a litre, and illuminating paraffin at wholesale level will go up by 1 rand 4 cents.
It's going to probably be another 300-400 rand towards the bottom line. So it's really drastic for the economy. I mean, I see prices have gone up since 2008. It's a 100% increase. Somewhere it's got to stop. There has to be a bottom line somewhere.
Our ANC MP Vincent Smith confirming a little earlier that tomorrow Police Minister Gwede will visit residents of Westbury in Johannesburg. That area has been turned into a battleground. Stones and various things been thrown between community members there who've been in running battles with police. Residents have been protesting over the extent of gang violence in that area. They're calling on authorities to deal with those drug-related crimes. And ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule says nothing will come between him and President Cyril Ramaphosa. The governing party is presenting a united front, saying Ramaphosa and Magashule are singing from the same hymn book. Last month, Ramaphosa lashed out at those who, within the ANC, who were reportedly rather plotting to have him removed, and he had strong words for the alleged coup plotters.
I'd like to say this now. If there is going to be any plot, it must be a plot to defeat poverty. That must be the type of plot that we want. It must be a plot to end poverty in our country. If we're going to plan, let us plan the growth of our economy. Let us invest our energies in transforming the economy of our country and waste time playing marbles with the hopes of our people.
Well, those were your headlines for tonight. Vuyo is standing by to take you through the rest of the show. Vuyo?
Thanks, Kathy. Have a good night.
Good night for you.
Well, it's his first ministerial position, and it's not an easy one by all accounts. The mining industry has been in decline for some years now, and Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe is charged with rescuing it. Does he have the tools with his new mining charter, or is it going to take more than that, Minister Mantashe is my guest this evening. Welcome, sir, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Vuyo. I'm happy to be here. I greet the viewers at home.
So how has it been the past 8 months?
Quite hectic, but enjoyable, in the sense that you are engaged in something that you can see and quantify, and that you can measure if you are making progress or not. And I enjoyed the 8 months, but the work lies ahead.
Presumably the mining charter is not the only thing you've had to deal with. Deal with.
One of the things I've been emphasizing is that mining is an economic sector. Mining is an economic sector, it's not a charter sector. Charter is just a tool to facilitate transformation. But the reality of that sector is that it is not measured in terms of the charter, it is measured in terms of mining, contributing to the GDP, contributing positive to the growth of the economy. That is what we must spend all our time doing.
Okay, and that is what we're going to talk about in part. But let's start here with the charter. Do you believe that it's going to bring about the certainty that the industry and investors have been asking for?
I've waited for the Mineral Council, the Chamber of Mines, to comment on this. They have not commented yet. Once they comment, I will be sure what is happening. I monitored the analysis from various angles over the weekend. I'm comfortable that it is a charter that makes all of us unhappy and happy. It is a charter that is balanced. Everybody complains about aspect, but accept another aspect, everybody like that. That is a good charter, because when you negotiate in a space of conflicted interests, you are not likely to have something that makes everybody happy.
Well, I mean, they have been, lukewarm at best. Yes, they have formally given that, shall I call it, excuse that they are still studying the charter. But I'm sure there is a lot that they are unhappy about. Hopefully they will tell us with time. We will get to hear from them. But from where you sit, does it tick all the boxes?
We have attended to every issue that was raised. You know, in the 8 months I've been in the industry, I have visited all major mining areas in the country, all of them. I don't say some, I say all of them, all 9 provinces. Try to check, have a sense, talk to people, and therefore that chart is a product of a very detailed and involved process. And therefore it takes into account all the industry. Actually, at the end of the first 3 months, time I set for myself, we have completed the visits to all the major mining areas. We pulled everybody under one roof in a mining summit where they were discussing just the charter. Many of those stakeholders came face to face with one another for the first time. So a community group that was hostile to the chamber came face to face with the chamber. The chamber thought that we were actually exaggerating issues, came face to face with the issues of workers and communities. And from there they said, give us another month to the end of August. We did that. In that 1 month, we received 126 additional written submissions. We pulled all of them, locked a team in a room for 5 days, and we produced that charter. We then went back to them and said, this is the product. What do you feel? Everybody said yes, 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 yes. And others will have a problem here and there. But it's a product of a detailed engagement.
Do you believe that consultative process that you've just described is what made the difference, and perhaps less you, as in Gwede Mantashe, now being the Minerals Minister?
I can tell you that actually there is nothing that is revolving around Gwede Mantashe there. We've coined a term they called Team DMR. Team DMR, which means that a director in the DMR, a DDG, a chief director, all of them when involved, they must appreciate that we are a team. We can only succeed when we work as a team. We have talked to the industry beyond just the charter. We talked about how do we build a competitive, sustainable, and transformed industry. We're going to finalize that in a week's time, where we have a vision. We're working on the implementation program of the charter so that we must tick the boxes, monitor issues, verify information. As something that was missing in the department, we're strengthening those aspects of the department.
No, the reason that question is, relevant, it's because among the criticisms, or perhaps the chamber hasn't spoken yet, still studying the document, but among the criticisms that have already been leveled against it is that the minister has vast powers. And this is apparently a big issue. But the reason people haven't come forward with that criticism yet is because of the person Gwede Mantashe, because they don't want to be seen to be criticizing you, right? But they want to remind people that we've had a Musebenzi Zwane, before, and you know how the industry reacted to his set of proposals. But they are worried that raising this issue now would be seen to be opposing you, now that you are the minister.
Let me give you an advice, Vuyo. Take the charter that was gazetted in August 2017, put it here. Take the charter that we gazetted in June for comments, put it there. Take the final charter. Compare all three and see the movement in various areas which reflect the listening and taking into account the views of the various stakeholders. They are reflected in the movement in those charters. If you do that, you can have a spreadsheet, put them in one spreadsheet, compare. You will see that we've moved. What you call too much powers to the minister, we've scaled that down because we don't think that the industry can perform because some powerful individual drives it. It will perform because we begin to appreciate that the chamber is not our enemy, workers are not the enemies of the chamber, communities are affected by mining. That's why, for example, we have what is called carried interest for communities and workers. We're saying to the owners of mining companies, do give carried interest that workers will not pay for, because they convert your investment into wealth. You are polluting environment and water and crack houses where you're mining. Give those communities some value that they can look at and benefit from mining. And the reason for that is that it is not only about powers of an individual, it's about these stakeholders working together. That is the main, that is where the key for success is going to be.
Well, among the criticisms that have come from the EFF, for example, it is that allowing mining companies that complied with the 26% stipulation in the previous version means that you have actually, you've basically allowed those people to keep in line with the once empowered, always empowered.
Can I tell you the difference between what I'm doing and the criticism of the EFF is that EFF has the freedom to say anything that can look nice to voters. It's an opposition party. I'm having the responsibility to make mining work and actually generate wealth and actually contribute to the GDP of the country. That is the big difference, because I don't have the luxury of being populist in dealing with mining. I have a responsibility of ensuring that we work for an industry that will produce, generate wealth for everybody, benefit communities, and benefit workers. So EFF is relatively young, and many of them never worked. They will not understand that.
Okay, let's take a call. We have Anonymous from Vetbank on the line. Good evening, Anonymous. What's your question, comment?
Evening, how are you?
Well, sir.
Evening, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please pose your question or comment.
My question is, there are two operations in Mpumalanga that were owned or that are owned by Tegeta. These operations are on business rescue, but nothing much has happened thus far. I just want to find out from the minister, what is his take, what is his call with regards to these two operations, because employees, are not being paid, sometimes they do get paid, but look, they get paid late. Creditors, they don't get, paid well in time, and communities are also affected. The very same communities that ministers, is alluding to, they are very, affected by these operations. ESCOM, they are taking coal from Mijupi and other parts of the country because these mines are not giving coal to Hendrina. So I just want to find out from the minister, what is this called? When are these mines going to be sold? Because he did mention that he wants this mine to be sold to a black South African-owned company. What is his take?
Minister?
There are not two. There are more than two. It's Optimum, it's Korenfontein in the same complex. There is Braakfontein in Telmas. There is Shivers in the northwest. There is Idwala in Mpumalanga again. All of them were Tegeta mines. They have been in rescue stage where business rescue practitioners are running them. You will have noticed that last week there was a case which was brought by a company which said to have bought this company from the Guptas. They lost that case. Now that has opened the time now for those companies to be put up for bids. And that process has started. We're hoping that we'll get a good operator to take them up. We've put a number of conditions without nominating. We can't be part of nominating who gets it. We said it must be given to a company with track record of running a mine. Number two, it must be South African. Two, it must have significant ownership by black companies. So the two-one, Optimum and Korenfontein are at that stage. On the Braakfontein and Shiva, there is a complication with IDC, which has actually taken away the rescue practitioners out of the process. We're looking at that, but one of the worst things that can happen is for IDC, because they want their money, take those operations to liquidation. That will be the worst thing that can happen.
Now, have you got timelines?
We have timelines, but you can't be having tight timelines with rescue operation and liquidation. But we're hoping that by the end of this year, we'll have had a new owner, particularly for Optimum and Korenfontein. If we can have that by the end of this year, we'll be comfortable with that so that we start running those operations.
In the meantime, the plight of the workers that the caller was talking about, who are sometimes paid, sometimes they don't get paid.
Yes, but our information, I can't vouch for it. Workers are now being paid all the time. And creditors are paid all the time.
Now, let's talk about the communities which the caller started talking about. I mean, there has been the problem of fronting, which remains a big issue in mining, and whether, in fact, the benefits do indeed accrue to the communities themselves.
Fronting is a different problem, which doesn't have anything to do with communities. It's an issue of black economic empowerment partners who normally front for white partners. Find that I'm here, I'm Gwede Mantashe, I'm black, and we get the credit for complying, only to discover with the march of time that actually this is a front. That's a different problem, which we will deal with, because the next step is to verify existing deals. That's what we should do, where we verify each and every company.
Is that what you should do, or is that what you are going to do?
That is what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. We're going to verify them. Actually, there's provision for verification, which was done in a way that was not as strict as it should. Actually, we're partnering with the TTI. We say you have experience that you have an entity that does verification. We want you to work with our unit. Do go and verify Anglo Gold, Ashanti, Goldfields, Anglo Platinum, and every company, whether they complied. That's why the question of complying with the 26% cannot be seen as something wrong. If you comply with 26% when the law required you to have 26%, you have complied. We can't say because we've put a new
It's not retrospective.
Yeah, therefore we apply it retrospectively. We said that one we can only apply retrospectively at the point of renewal of the right. So we've not said it's not touchable. We'll allow you to go with the 26% up to the point of renewing of your rights.
Now, well, the communities.
The communities. You will notice in the communities, with workers we said the rights of the 5% of workers. With communities, 5% to communities, which they should not pay for, okay, free. But we made a provision for and said, or equivalent benefit, okay. The reason that we use the term equivalent benefit is that we're still finding it difficult to have a perfect method of trust of communities working. In a majority of cases, we're picking up that it's either a trust get hijacked by people who came as a committee and steal the money, or sometimes there's a conflict between communities and the traditional leaders. All those issues, want to work on those, find a formula of how benefits should accrue to those communities. Our interest is that if a mine is in this community, those must benefit. In the social labor plan, then we extend that to labor standing areas.
Okay, let's take another call. Yongama in Johannesburg. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Your question or comment?
Yes, I want to ask the minister because I understand that he was in an area called in Bizana having a meeting last week there. And I understand that people from there are fighting towards mining of manganese in that area. So what is the situation in that regard?
Minister?
No, I was in Kolobeng on Sunday to feel it myself and not just get report from there and there. I was there. Actually, one of the things that happened there is that people of Kolobeng were in a meeting and spoke for themselves for the first time. Because what you normally happen is that school-going kids get mobilized to disrupt meetings. They tried that, we dealt with that issue and allowed the people of Kolobeng to speak for themselves. 7 village trusts spoke for themselves, including the Taxi Association, Bizana Chamber, and everybody. They spoke for themselves and said, listen, here we're not fighting mining. We can't fight mining and fight tourism. Here we need development. Here we need development. We're the poorest ward in Bizana, we're Ward 25, and we need development here. Therefore, mining and tourism must coexist. And that's why the group that was resisting N2 is now resisting mining, but N2 is coming, many of them work in that project, N2. And one person said, actually, when we open that mine, they will be the first to take their companies to work in that mine. So what we should be doing in Kolobeng is to pull all the interests under one roof and make them understand that it is not mining or tourism, because there's no tourism to talk about now. It's just a beautiful wild coast if you fly over it in a helicopter. But you can't access it. Roads going there are so bad. The first development will be development of access, roads, accessing that place. Once you have access there, you can actually make the very tourism boom.
But are we addressing the concerns that some of the people have there about the health concerns and environmental concerns?
Yes, we are.
For example, this is open cast mining.
You see, before you give a license to a company, there are 3 departments that are involved. And many people don't understand that. One is the environment, which sets stiff conditions for environment. There is the water, which put strict department on water. And that is based on the sustainable development concept of giving benefits to the current generation without destroying benefits to future generations. And that is what we're going to stick to. Actually, people from Kolobeng were taken to Richards Bay. Richards Bay Mineral is having a similar operation. It's one of the best examples of what rehabilitation should be like. Restoring the look of the environment and nature to almost the same as original. And that is what we're going to enforce there.
So it's going to be easy for, the miners are going to get the water that the community currently doesn't have.
No, the reason for development, the benefit of development is that it attracts many of the things that are requirements. And in the process, we say they must benefit the communities. Because
so you're banking on this project to help with extending these resources?
We're not banking. We're saying when there is development and activity, they will actually, let me give you an example. Somebody said to me, extraction is not development. And I said, Johannesburg was built on the back of extraction activities. Rustenburg and Beggersford are the fastest growth points in the country today, both of them on the back of extraction activities. And what we're saying, let's allow development to take place there, then you can have a diverse development strategy and allow coexistence of the various activities. Then those communities must benefit, and that must be included in the agreements.
Now, two quick questions I want to ask you. My time is almost up. One is just clarify this for us once and for all. There are people who are saying, having withdrawn the Minerals and Petroleum Resources Amendment Bill, the mining charter now has no legal status because the charter is required in terms of the very law that you've withdrawn.
No, MPRDA is a law that is there. What we have withdrawn are amendments, but the law remains. So there is no MPRDA that has been withdrawn. MPRDA is there. It is guiding us now. We have removed the amendments, but we've taken a second decision that let's have a separate legislative framework for petroleum and gas industry. Because if you make them an appendage to mining, every time there are complications in mining, they can't move. And we think that if we begin to separate them, a separate legislative framework, we can develop a massive sector called petroleum and gas.
Now, mining, you said, is not the charter. Now, what else, or do you believe that with this charter and everything else that you are going to do, you have the formula to rescue this industry? Given what the companies are saying that it is very expensive to mine in South Africa.
No. Actually, I've proven to the industry that, listen, a free carry concept is not a South African concept. It is practiced in 53.4% of countries in the continent. And the same companies who complain loudly here do comply there. Either they give it to communities or they give it to the state. But this free carried interest is actually everywhere in the continent. And mining companies do comply there. So what we are saying is that the charter is there. We can't talk of regulatory and policy uncertainty. We must get into the business of mining, make it work. And mining, I heard your opening remark when you said the declining industry. Gold mining is declining. Mining in general, South Africa is not declining. You see, coal is doing well. Chrome were on the top. Manganese were on the top. Iron ore were doing well. Platinum were at the top. We actually own more than 75% of known world platinum deposit, but the price of platinum is very low at this point in time, and the demand is low. So mining is not declining because people make mining to be equivalent to gold mining.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it, unfortunately. Thanks very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. It's a pity I couldn't ask you about ANC matters, but I believe that was a condition for coming here.
No, I don't have conditions. I answer any question you ask me.
Are you?
Yes, I answer questions.
Answered, are you taking, did you meet with the mining industry to try and pressure them to bow to Gupta's dictates, basically?
Now, you see, that's why I get disappointed by many journalists that I respect. Okay, I can give you names, but I won't do that. that I respect, who actually make a big story out of something that was in the public domain when it happened. When we met the banks, it was a time when there was a hot debate about they must open the accounts and they can't do that, jobs will be at stake. Even Tegeta went to the institute to put that pressure. The government cabinet took separate decisions. The ANC said, no, we can't take that decision on the basis of that one. Let's meet the banks. When that happened, it was in the public. Now, I want you to do one exercise for yourself. Take the representation of the person who was representing Standard Bank there, and take the letter that the CEO of Standard wrote to us after the meeting. And I said to somebody, read that letter, underline the word cordial. See, that was then. It was not after the commission. But the ANC has a responsibility to go to the commission itself, clarify those questions.
Okay, and you will go there if asked?
The ANC will go there. If it says to me, you must be part of the delegation, I have no option but to go.
Are you suing Vytjie Mentor?
No, so a Vytjie Mentor issue is a different matter. You know, Vytjie Mentor made 3 allegations against me. He said I have 6 farms in Stutterheim, in Maclear, which don't exist. Okay, I don't have 6 farms. I have not have a single farm in Stutterheim. I have no farm in Maclear. I have 1 farm in Elliot. Okay. Number 2, he said, my wife has a contract with Eskom of 1.4 billion, catering for Kusile and Mutupi. Those contracts do not exist. Now, all I'm saying I'm doing with Vytjie is what is called in Sesotho, kgalemela lenyatso. When people can just drag your name in the mud, irrespective, that's all I'm doing with Vytjie. And I'm going to do that.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Next, how to catch a pedophile. Don't go away.